It's now 7 weeks on from the Grenfell Tower fire, but is the government and local councils any closer to rehousing the residents, or are many of us, like some of the wealthy, completely against those less fortunate than ourselves? Many times it's been said to me after I placed this video up about a lady calling LBC and stating that Grenfell residents shouldn't be given a home in a wealthy block. It has been said to me, why don't you put them up in your home then? And for me, and maybe for them, the residents, that just simply isn't the answer. A room in another person's house, in my opinion, is not really a home, and it certainly doesn't cure the problem of making the government, local councils, and indeed companies out to make vast profits from underhand tactics accountable for their actions. But yes, money was supposed to have been fed down to the residents, but shortly after the tragedy, residents were getting apparently as little as a tenner each. But residents in other properties close to the tower have been given a budget of a staggering £2.7 billion. Residents and homes nearby from the three what they term as finger blocks, Testerton, Barrington and Hurstway Walks, are expected to receive this money in support from Kensington and Chelsea Council. But why are nearby residents getting the funds when many of the Grenfell residents that were burnt out of their homes, and some have had family members die, still waiting to be rehoused? But what is the money for? The sum of money that's being given is based on the assumption that the households near to the block will take up these offers of support, and it will cover grants, redecoration and cleaning services as nearby residents attempt to rebuild their lives after the tragedy in which at least 80 people died. But the council has also agreed to a one-off payment of £5,000, and this should be extended to residents who did not wish to return to their homes that they already have, which again the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea have also said that currently 149 households from the three blocks are in temporary accommodation, a majority of them in hotels, but a number have returned to their homes that they already have, but others did not want to or were unable to for one reason or another. But the council has said anyone who does not want to go back to their home can remain in temporary accommodation until rehoused, maybe somewhere else. But what about the residents that actually lived in the burnt out block? And many have had, as I said, family members die in the fire. Many of them don't have a home to go back to. Well, according to reports, there are currently 700 properties that are officially recorded as being empty for over 2 years, and around 50 of them have been unoccupied for between 11 and 15 years. And yes, you've guessed it, owned by many wealthy members of society. But many think that these properties shouldn't be commandeered, even if it is for the short term. But also there is around 1,857 homes sitting unoccupied in Kensington and Chelsea. Why shouldn't some of these houses be used for the short term by the 255 survivors of the Inferno? Well, if you knew who some of the owners were, you may realise why some of the owners of the empty homes, according to various news sources, include New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg, and this one, a Ukrainian billionaire fighting extradition to the US. Crazy. A former BBC executive and a luxury property magnate. So who needs to be housed first? And I feel I may be reprimanded over this, but in the comments below, but is it residents already living in properties surrounding the Burtown block, or is it the residents that got actually burnt out of the child monument almost that is now dedicated to the errors of the powers that be? But in truth, how far can this really go? Can this situation be manipulated by others and possibly lead to the residents of the Grenfell Tower losing public sympathy? Take Taplow Tower for example. Residents were urgently ordered to leave their homes 9 days after the Grenfell Tower disaster happened. They have now said that the fire safety improvement works have been rushed, and some residents are now threatening to stop the payment of rent and council tax until they are finished properly. The works that were done were signed off by the council, and fire brigade last weekend. The blocks were evacuated partly because of the lack of fire doors. But what I will say is this: I was in construction in some shape or form for about 25 years. Yeah, and in many cases a building was signed off, and a few guys, a very minimal amount, would go in after and attend to what we would call snagging, just tidying up the loose ends. And yes, we shouldn't, I now think, trust the government over this, and certainly not at local level, as it has been proven over the last couple of months. But are they now saying they don't trust the opinions and expertise from the fire brigade in signing off the works? But remember, 3,000 residents of the Chalcott estate in Camden were placed in temporary accommodation on 23rd of June after the fire brigade tests initially found the building was unsafe, but almost all have now returned. Now, the possibility of more evacuations was raised on Wednesday night as the government confirmed that at least 111 buildings, 90 of which are owned by councils or housing associations, will now have to take immediate action after tests found they do not meet current fire regulations. And bear in mind, the Conservatives sat on fire regulation reports for a number of years. Gavin Barwell, now Chief of Staff, was one of their ministers.
I can't comment, I'm afraid. Could the deaths at Grenfell have been avoided? Do you plan to release the report anytime soon?
So are there some residents of certain blocks now manipulating this for all it's worth to spread fear and to get away with paying rent? And I can hear the swear words at the screen. But yes, Grenfell is genuine. Yes, the residents of that block need help and somewhere they can call home, and they need it now. But I feel they have to be careful and almost guide residents of other blocks to be sincere in their demands in a calm and united way. Because united, we can have a better society and a better political system. And we can make changes to the future if we just stick together. What do you think about what I've said? Do you agree with what I've said? If you are watching this and happen to be a Grenfell resident, why not get in touch? We can't let this be swept under the carpet. Send us an email in the address in the description below and let us know what you have to say. Why not click subscribe? The quicker this channel gets really noticed, the better chance we have in making people listen. Go on, click that little red button. You just never know. Thanks for watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye bye for now.